Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of The Push with Nick and KP. I'm KP and here today we're going to be running through an NXT recap. This is the May 12th edition of the show and we're going to go into everything as we normally do here at The Push, breaking down the whole course of the night, starting from the top, going to the end. Let's go and get this done. So, starting off with this episode of NXT, we would have a tag team match in the women's division. That would see the team of Lizzie Rain and NXT Women's North American Champion Tatum Paxley taking on Zarya and Nikita Lyons. Going back to last week where these four would be in the ring, all sort of like vying for the Women's North American title. Tag team match came about from that one. And this one was a pretty fun way to kick off the show. Everyone getting involved in parts here and there, lots of different dynamics and styles in the contest, sort of blending together in a pretty decent way. We do get to a point where we do sort of see like, stamina is completely depleted at one point. And Nikita Lyons, she sort of like had a lot taken out of her. She goes to tag in Zarya, who's waiting on the apron for a tag. But Zarya, just as Nikita's about to make that tag, drops down onto the rope, onto the ringside floor instead, avoiding the tag from Nikita. That's where Lyons basically is like, well, what are you doing? What's going on here? We're working as a team. Zarya's having absolutely none of it. That then allows an opportunity for Tatum Paxley to hit a rolling kick out of absolutely nowhere, tagging in Lizzie Rain, who then follows up with her Thunderstruck finishing maneuver, and that would be the win here for Tatum and Lizzie. So serious momentum since Lizzie has arrived here in NXT. Second pinfall victory over Nikita Lyons just a couple of weeks. And yeah, just basically an opportunity for Tatum Paxley to keep her sort of championship caliber going strong as well. But a good win here for these two. And Zarya pulling the strings, I guess, in the way that Nikita wouldn't have wanted to, but kind of having some control of the situation here. She didn't care about taking a loss. She didn't get pinned for it, so she doesn't really mind about that. But yeah, win here for Tatum and Lizzie Rain. So going into our next matchup then, it will be a one-on-one contest here. This would see Lince Dorado be the first man to take on Naraku. This would be who's formerly known as Evil, making his NXT debut here, and a chance for him to impress in the WWE sort of lifestyle. This was a pretty fun match, to be fair. Pretty standard as you would expect here, to be fair, from Naraku, going through, what he can sort of do in the ring. Sort of displaying like a pretty solid showcase of strikes, a little bit of technical offense here and there, a bit of a power game going along, so quite like, a well-rounded sort of, appearance here from the man. And he would dismantle Lince Dorado in the end eventually. After a pretty back and forth match, Lince does get a fair bit of offense in here, so it isn't a complete sort of one-sided affair. And that comes in way of two fisherman suplexes by Naraku, and then follows up with a STO, and that would be the win here for Naraku on his debut against Lince Dorado. So obviously the start of his tenure here in NXT. Let's see how he uses this momentum, see if he can go forward and impress, with whatever's coming up next for him. Coming up after that, we would have our second tag team match of the night. This would be a 3-on-3 match this time, though, as this sees Birthright taking on the team of Sean Legacy, Tate Wilder, and EK Prosper. This was a crazy fun match. High flying offense, just incredible amounts of energy, just really fast paced around the ring, non-stop sort of action throughout the entire contest, and just gets to a point where the referee just has no control over it because everyone's just going nuts. It's a very entertaining contest just because of, just non-stop doing things or whatever, and it's just a bit of everything in there, basically. It's kind of like a blink and you'll miss a situation type of matchup. In the end, though, we do see a win here for Birthright in way of actually Tate Wilder's own sort of confidence levels, affecting his decision-making towards the end. He starts to get on a bit of a roll, taking out Birthright members here, there, and everywhere, even going to ringside and in the ring and everything like that. And he sort of goes for a couple of moves too many. So he hits a big frog splash, gets a cover, but only kicks out at 2. And then you got Sean Legacy, who's literally begging for a tag here because Tate Wilder's spent at this point. He has gone hell for leather, taking out people left, right, and center, as I said, but he's just sort of diminishing himself in terms of what he's got left in the tank. And eventually that does catch up with him. He chooses not to go for the tag on Sean Legacy. He goes for a moonsault, and that is then avoided in the ring, which then allows Birthright to hit some sort of like synchronized kick sort of maneuver together, and that'll be the victory here for Birthright in the end. So Tate Wilder not doing himself any favors here, got a little bit too overconfident, and should have made the tag into Sean Legacy because Birthright come out of this one with a victory here. So coming up after that, we would go on to then the man who has took NXT by storm over the last few weeks, and that is Mason Rook. We'd have a contract signing for him to join the NXT roster officially, and this would be an opportunity for him to just sort of tell us a little bit more about himself. He says how well-travelled that he is and how experienced he is, before even noting that John Cena even sees him himself. He asks if he's satisfied with being talked about by everybody and sort of going viral in the way that he has, before then saying that he's not satisfied at all, and that he demands more, saying that's why he's come to NXT, claiming that he's not just the best super heavyweight, but he's the best any weight. Tony D'Angelo, the NXT champion, he makes his way down to the ring shortly afterwards, wishing to just talk to Mason Rook. Tony tells Mason that he has his attention now, before warning him that he won't make a name off of his expense. As Tony's sort of like about to continue, we then see Cam Hendricks. He would attack Tony D'Angelo, I guess trying to make a name off of Tony as well here. And as sort of a brawl has been, sort of like unveiling here between the two men, security trying to break it up between the two of them, we then see Mason Rook go up to the top rope, hits a big diving moonsault to the outside, crashing through all the security members, catching Tony and Cam just slightly as well in the offense there. And taking everybody out of ringside. He would then get back into the ring, and he would then sign the contract, officially joining NXT. So, yeah, still making waves here is Mason Rook. Even with his contract signing, he's still making a pretty big splash here across the top of the NXT division. So, from one half to another, here comes our second half of NXT. This was the one-on-one matchup between Jackson Drake and Noam Dar. The first time Noam Dar has competed in a match on NXT since a NXT Heritage Cup match against Lexis King. And that was a while ago now. So yeah, it's been some sort of time here for Noam Dar, but it was good to see him back in the ring, good to see him doing his stuff again, and taking on one of VP Vanity Project's Jackson Drake in the process, who's been on a bit of a tear recently. This will be a fun match, to be fair. I think the two men just sort of complement each other really, really well. It's a very, very similar style to sort of bounce off of each other, which is quite nice to see. And I think Noam looked great, to be fair. Great to see him back in. The crowd were chanting, "This is awesome," even at a couple of points. So yeah, everyone was liking this one. It was just a really good back and forth contest that had a lot going on with it. We do see Noam Dar getting into a bit of a rhythm towards the end. He sort of got Drake reeling at ringside, but he's then stopped in his tracks by Lockwood, who was obviously a big helping hand in Jackson Drake's match from the week before. She would then allow Noam Dar to basically be stopped in his tracks, and instead of dealing obviously with her, because he can't, he then turns his attention to both Brad Baylor and Ricky Smokes, nailing them at ringside, looks to get back into the ring and finish off Jackson Drake, who is now inside the ring. And that's when Lockwood gets involved once again, pulling Noam Dar, stopping him from getting into the ring, and that allows Jackson Drake to hit a knee to Dar's face, before then hitting a 450 splash to get that 1-2-3 and pick up the win. So a big win here for Jackson Drake, and that's not the end for that's not the end for Vanity Project in this evening either, because then once the dust hasn't really settled at this point either, we do see Dark State come on down towards the ring. They appear in the crowd. They're sort of ominous style fashion for their entrance, and then they will actually hit up mics in the ring about to go for a promo. So once Dark State get ready to go, basically with Vanity Project on the entrance ramp at this point, they say how they're looking to take control of the tag team division once again. Sugars offers a warning that Vanity Project will suffer the same as Hank and Tank did the week before then Baylor and Smokes remind Darkstate that they are the ones who actually took the NXT tag titles away from Darkstate. They take claim for Lennox and Sugars being at each other's throats for the past several weeks, before Cutler interjects, basically saying that the tag title match is already official for next week, and that it's not going to be him and Osiris competing. Is actually going to be Lennox and Sugars. They need to step up and they need to become united, because the group needs to be united as a whole. Osiris says that the two need to step up officially here and to sort things out between them for good, otherwise Darkseid will have to change. Vanity Project then attempt to attack the group, but are actually cleared from the ring to end the segment as Darkstate stand tall, taking out VP. So yeah, bit of a unique dynamic here between the Darkstate members. There has been tension growing between Lennox and Sugars for over the past number of weeks, and now it even seems to be that Cutler and Osiris have had enough of that, and they want them to officially, squash that beef, whatever it is that's underlying there, and to sort of try and, get a bit more complete as a group. So yeah, that tag team championship match could be very interesting next week. Could go a number of ways. Excited for that one. Let's go into our main event then. That would be a one-on-one contest between Kalani Jordan and Kendall Gray, which has basically throughout the night been described as has NXT Women's Championship sort of credentials to this one. Maybe the winner would perhaps get an opportunity going forward, but obviously, there is a bit of a queue at the moment, and there's a certain lady that I'll be getting into in a moment who's probably at the top of that list. We would then have that matchup between the two ladies, and this would be a quite fun main event, to be fair, very technically sound. Both women just really going back and forth throughout the entire contest, putting on a pretty great display. And yeah, it's just a really solid match to watch. Very, very good main event for sure. We do see a stage in the late contest where, as both ladies are on the top rope, we then see Kendall Gray looking to hit a big move. But a brawl that's just started a couple of moments ago backstage between izzidame and lolavice spills to ringside. They come through the Trons from Gorilla. And yeah, that sort of like goes into the way of Ren Sinclair, who's on crutches. You know, she's obviously suffering some effects from recent matches. And as that sort of like spills towards Ren Sinclair, she gets knocked down onto the floor. That distracts Kendall Gray, you know, for a long enough opportunity for Kalani to take advantage. She drops Kendall onto the mat, and that'll see the opportunity for her to hit her one-of-a-kind moonsault in order to pick up the victory here in this main event. So, yeah, Kalani Jordan goes over Kendall Gray in the main event of NXT. Big result for her on this one. Possibly looking to go after that NXT Women's Championship soon. But because izzidame, you know, brawling with lolavice, we do see lolavice sort of like going up into the face of Kendall Gray afterwards, almost like apologizing, like, see what's going on with Ren Sinclair. But Lola, you know, she's not well received by Kendall. She basically says this is all your fault. She gives her a couple of shoves, and that's when we see izzidame charging in at the back of lolavice, slamming her into Kendall, and lays her out at ringside as well. She then poses with the NXT Women's Championship to end the show. So izzidame is clearly not done with that championship. She wants that gold for herself. And Kalani Jordan might have won a big match against Kendall Gray, but izzidame seems to be firing the bigger shots, especially towards the champion herself. But yeah, pretty good episode of NXT, this one. A lot going down in terms of championship stuff. We've got the women's titles, you know, very big sort of stories going on right now. With that fatal four-way possibly coming up between the women's North American Championship scene. Obviously, that tag team situation spelling out into, you know, a bit of situation there. But yeah, the women's main event, you know, getting that opportunity for that NXT Championship to be shone, you know, right at the very closing stages is great. And then obviously the tag team division as well, heating up there between Vanity Project and Dark State. So yeah, quite a few things going on in terms of titles, which sort of brings some prestige to it. You'd love to see that. As for this episode of NXT, I'd probably give it a 7.5. All the title situation mixed in with a Naraku debut. I thought it hit quite nicely. I quite enjoyed the show. I've seen better episodes of NXT, but I've seen a lot worse as well. So it just sits somewhere nicely in between. Not a bad episode for sure. But for now, this has been our NXT recap here from The Push. If you guys like this one as well, let us know in the comments what you thought. Whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, actually, we'd love to hear what you think. NXT is always one of those things. You know, it's a bit for everybody. What did you guys think of this one specifically, though? And also, if you like this video, consider hitting a like, subscribing to our channel, keeping up with future releases, because we're always pumping out content here from The Push. Starting a brand new project soon as well, which we're both excited for over here. So stay tuned for that. But this has been The Push with Nick and KP. We'll see you on the next one. Take it easy, and goodbye for now.